Let's start with Mike Hanna, who's at the White House. So, Mike, President Trump just said that he wants the U.S. and indeed himself to be involved in picking Iran's next leader. What did he say exactly?
Well, as he's been doing since this conflict got underway, he's phoning selected news media and talking to them. And this is on one of the occasions where he's done it. He was speaking to the Politico magazine and saying that he's going to have a big impact on the choice that Iran makes for its new leader. He says, we'll work with the people and the regime to make sure that somebody gets there that can nicely build Iran, but without nuclear weapons. So he's saying clearly there that the US must be involved in leadership decisions within Iran. Otherwise, it's not going to accept any settlement whatsoever. He also spoke about the general conduct of this ongoing operation, saying that the United States has unlimited weapons. He used that word twice, unlimited weapons, trying to put to bed any fears that the US does have a munitions shortage or may have a munitions shortage as this operation continues. He also said that basically Iran has been destroyed fundamentally in a military way. He says that they have no air force, they have no detection of air, it's all wiped out, the radar is all wiped out, their military is decimated, and he concludes all they have is guts. So a president who's confident, it would appear, of the ongoing success, as he sees it, of this engagement with Iran together with Israel.
Mike, back to you in just a second. Mohamed Vall is in the Iranian capital, Tehran. So, Mohamed, the U.S. wants to have a say in who runs Iran next. That is following the assassination of the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei. But, of course, Iran's surviving leaders, they have other plans. On the ground, who is currently choosing Iran's next leader?
Well, according to what the Iranian leadership, the leadership in charge now are saying, is that Iran is still a sovereign nation. And the Iranian leaders are still in place. Even some of them have been killed, but those who remained are in charge. And they are proceeding according to the Iranian constitution. So there is no gap, there is no disruption. There is a smooth process of succession going on. And they are saying that for the Americans to have a say in Iran's leadership, new leadership, America has to control Iran. And that's something that hasn't happened. And they think it will never happen. It takes boots on the ground. It takes occupation of Iran for the Americans to be able to appoint a leader. It's not the scenario of 1953 when there was a CIA-led coup against Mohamed, a democratically elected prime minister of Iran at that time. They say it's not going to happen again because Iran now is different from Iran at that time. And even then, after a quarter of a century, the Iranians came back in force and took back the power from the Shah, who was appointed by the Americans. And this time around, they are saying it is going to be very difficult, more difficult for America to change the regime and appoint anybody they want. Iran is defending itself. That is what I'm just quoting. I'm just paraphrasing what they say. Iran is defending itself, and it has the means to do so. And for Americans to be able to do what Trump has said, they have first to occupy the country.
Mike, back to you. So the U.S. president says that he wants to choose Iran's next leader. He says that they have enough ammunition to keep their military campaign going and that overall, in his estimation, it's going very well, their military campaign, that is. Did he say anything else?
Yes, indeed. He said that for some reason that people are loving what's happening. It's not quite clear what he was referring to, but one must assume that it's the American people that he's talking about, attempting to ignore the fact that there is substantial opposition to his decision to go to war with Iran. He says that people are happy that he's taken this decision because it is protecting America, as he puts it. So very upbeat, President Trump, and continuing to perhaps keep a blind eye to the simmering opposition that there is within the United States to his decision to go into conflict. Now, that opposition is not only about the conflict itself, but about the manner in which he's done it, effectively, according to his critics, bypassing Congress by taking away the right of Congress to declare war. The executive does not have that right within the Constitution. So President Trump basically saying that everything is going fine in this operation, saying that the US has got plenty of munitions to continue it, not putting any timeline on anything, and also absolutely insistent that people are happy, as he puts it, with his decision to enter this conflict.
Mohamed, in Tehran, back to you. While this is happening and while Donald Trump was giving that interview, the U.S. and Israel continue to hammer Iran, as we understand it. What is it like right now to live, whether it's Tehran or even outside of the capital? What is it like right now to be living in Iran?
Well, it's like hell, Cyril, because bombardment never stops, day and night. We have seen the latest wave just an hour ago around the city of Tehran. During the night, people have seen the illumination of those strikes around them. The country is really under fire from the sky, and that's a huge undertaking by the Americans of the and the Israelis. The Iranians are feeling the heat of this, but also the government is saying it is resisting. The army and the National Revolutionary Guard are announcing wave after wave of attacks against U.S. targets, both in the Gulf region and also in Israel. Today, they revealed a new heavy 1,000 kilogram missile called Khurram Shahar 4. They launched it against Israel. They're talking about the Navy still functioning, working, targeting American assets in the sea as far as 600 kilometers. The foreign minister today talked to a U.S. outlet, TV outlet, saying that there will be no negotiation. Iran will not beg for any negotiation anymore because they don't trust President Trump and the Americans anymore because they have betrayed the negotiation twice. And that Iran is waiting for Americans to put their boots on the ground in the country so that they defeat them, they kill them in mass numbers. So there is a spirit of defiance, and there is a language of defiance, and there is action of defiance. Iran is not showing that there is no sign that the number of missiles they have and the number of drones is being reduced as per what the Americans say. Wave after wave, day after day, they are launching new and stronger weapons. That's what they say and what they declare day after day.
Yeah. And we have heard from Ali Larijani in recent days, just to your point, Mohamed, Ali Larijani, who is the head of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, he says that they're essentially going to outlast the U.S. and that they are used to defending their 6,000-year-old civilization. That's Larijani's framing of it. Look, Mike Hanna at the White House, Mohamed Vall in Tehran, thank you very much to both of you. Let's bring in on this Thomas Warwick from Washington, D.C. Thomas, you're a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. You're also a former U.S. Department of Homeland Deputy Security Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism Policy. Thank you for being on the program. Can I get your early thoughts on this very latest from the U.S. president, namely that he wants to choose, or at least have a say in choosing, Iran's next leader?
Yes, well, good evening to you and to your viewers, and Ramadan Kareem to everyone. This is what I would call staking a claim, referring to the practice in the Old West that if you thought there was gold on empty land, you would go drive stakes into the ground and say, this is mine. What President Trump is trying to do is saying that he wants an Iranian leader who will negotiate with him and will be willing to do such things as end Iran's nuclear program, end Iran's enrichment of uranium. And in return, he would be prepared to offer a reduction in U.S. sanctions against Iran. So he's signaling that he would be ready to negotiate. Obviously, as you just reported, that may be a few days or a week or so away before Iran would be willing to respond at all.
How does this kind of thing typically work? Do you have any thoughts or insights on this? I mean, how does the U.S. lean on the choice of the next supreme leader, given the context here? And the context is that Iranians have already said over the last few days that they are following their guidelines that are set up by the Islamic Revolution, and their guidelines are that the clerical establishment is going to choose the next Ayatollah, the next supreme leader. Within that context, does the U.S. weigh on that choice?
Well, and as you've already heard, Israel is announcing it will target Mohamed Khamenei,
yes,
the son of the former supreme leader. And so that may be factoring into President Trump's calculations. He is clearly hoping that out of the power struggle going on in Tehran right now, someone will come forward to say we have to negotiate an end to the war, we have to negotiate peace with the United States, and that such a leader may eventually be given the ability to actually carry out such a negotiation. This is not going to happen overnight, and certainly the power struggle, as we've seen throughout Iran's history, if you look back to the early days of the revolution, when there were bombings and assassinations, there's clearly a lot that can happen in Iranian politics. I think President Trump is still hoping for a popular uprising, and we would see, obviously, whether a demonstration of 200,000 or even 1 million Iranians in the street would be able to stand up against the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, which proved a month ago they're willing to kill.
Do you believe in the scenario of the popular uprising?
I would describe this as a gamble. The actual model, I think, is what happened in Syria when Turkey's leaders allowed Ahmed al-Sharaa to lead an attack on the regime forces. It turned out they crumbled a lot faster than anyone thought. I think there's similar thinking in Washington that something like that could happen here. In order to have that work, though, you need to see the IRGC significantly weakened, and that is one of the effects being achieved by the military campaign that's underway.
Is there a scenario, in your view, where Donald Trump leans on Iran some way or another to get a leader that he and maybe he and Israel can work with? In other words, he gets his wish to have a say in Iran's next leader, but it is still within the framework of the Islamic Revolution. In other words, the clerical establishment remains in place. Could that happen?
Well, there have in fact been leaders with strong religious credentials who have been more open to the West, including several former presidents and other senior figures in the Iranian political hierarchy. The idea of death to America is not necessarily tied into the religious views of most Iranians. And so it is quite possible you could see either out of the security services or out of some part of the Iranian clerical establishment, someone saying, why do we have to have these endless wars with America? What is this profiting us in any way? And so, yes, it is possible you will find leaders who would be more willing to make peace with the rest of the world. But very clearly, the current leadership of Iran does not seem to be open to those ideas.
Thomas Warwick of the Atlantic Council, thank you much for joining us.